Okay, let's have a little brief look at the current SPL standings after the first 6 games of the season, and there are some surprises in here. Now, it's whether these surprises can continue. I've already had a look at, some Premier League predictions for the English Premier League, and now we're going to look at the Scottish Premier League in a snapshot. And in a couple of months' time, when it comes to the opening of the transfer window, we can have a look again at the end of December where teams are at. So at the moment, Dundee are rock bottom with no points, and they are shipping goals at an average of 2 goals a game. No points, not even a draw. They are in trouble. Motherwell and St Mirren both got 4 points and negative goal difference as expected. Hamilton have got a better goal difference than St Johnstone, but are below them by 2 points by virtue of not drawing any games, and St Johnstone having a flat record of 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. St Johnstone are basically the average team in the league. Is the best way to describe it. Aberdeen and Celtic being 6th and 7th. Yes, between 2nd and 7th, there's only 2 points covering, but that is quite congested. So from Rangers to Aberdeen is a very congested part of the table from 7th to 2nd. You can see there is some kind of quality gap between, I would say, St Johnstone and the teams below the 4 teams at the bottom. St Johnstone I can see getting marooned by themselves in the middle of the table with no one really chasing them down and not really catching anyone. Aberdeen Celtic, it's the position in the league that's the worry, not the actual results. However, they haven't won as many games as Hearts. Now, Hearts are a surprise package, and so are Livingston. Aberdeen have 9 points. They've got 2 wins and 3 draws, which is, you would think, pretty decent. But then you've got to look at the teams above them, and you've got to look at Aberdeen's goal difference, which is a flat 0. So they're not scoring more than they concede. If you look at Aberdeen's goal difference compared to, let's say, Rangers and Hearts, 2 teams they would want to be competing with to, battle for the top spot if Celtic do have a struggle, because Aberdeen have been the 2nd best team in Scotland for the last few seasons. That's where your problem lies. Their goal difference is a flat 0. Rangers and Hearts have a +9. Hibs have a +6. Livingston have had a good start to the season. They don't have a great goal difference one. It's only +2. Whereas Kilmarnock, who are only a point behind, have a +3. So it's getting already goal difference could prove crucial should, the form book stay as it is and this current look in the win, drawn and lost columns, if that carries on, it won't. Teams will go on a bit of a skid, maybe get more draws, maybe lose a couple of games. Hearts have finally dropped points. Had they won at the weekend, this gap at the top between Hearts, Rangers and Hibs and Livingston would be bigger. So Hearts currently top of the table with 16 points after 6 games. That is not a bad total. I, as a football fan, if I'm a fan of Hearts, I'm very happy where Hearts are right now. The fact you dropped 12 points is not a cause for concern. You're not going to win every game. Even the great Arsenal Invincibles under Wenger in the early days didn't win every game. They did draw a lot of league games. And Rangers have only lost the once, and that was to Celtic, and that was only a 1-0. So that is the Steven Gerrard effect. A new manager, a fresh voice, some fresh direction, positive effects straight up. Hibs, Lennon, he's a feisty manager. He was feisty when he was at Celtic, and he's a feisty manager now at Hibs. Hibs, I think, are motivated by the fact they're City rivals and Hearts, top of the table. And I think, Hibs are motivated to chase them down. It's good to see a Hibs-Hearts rivalry being relevant again outside of Edinburgh for the league. It's always been relevant to Edinburgh. Hibs and Hearts, it's the capital derby. It's always been relevant to Scottish football, but in the sense now it's more relevant because they're both at the top of the table. Both teams have spent some time in the Scottish Championship in recent years. Both teams have obviously had money problems at various times. Good to see them both at the top. So Rangers, these 3 clubs have all had money issues. Livingston, another club that's had money issues, 4th and having a great start to their first season back in the Premier League. They got promoted not that long ago. The Kenny Miller manager, I wouldn't call it controversy. I think at the time, I do find it an odd decision to get rid of him. But at the same time, they have kicked on since he's left, and they are in a healthy position in 4th by virtue of goal difference. They're not scoring as much as their rivals around them. Kilmarnock, good win against Celtic, showing that there is fight in Scottish football outside of Glasgow, outside of Celtic. And again, because of that 2-1 win, they're now above Celtic. Celtic have actually had a below par start for what they would expect, and there are cracks beginning to appear, and that could be down to transfer policy. Brendan Rodgers being an overrated manager, I'm not going to lie, he was crap at Liverpool. Big club couldn't deliver. In a weaker league, where there's less competition, he could deliver because the league has got less depth. No offence to Scottish football, but this is good for Scottish football in the long term. Short term, the Celtic not qualifying the Champions League hurts the coefficient by UEFA, which is another issue entirely. But let's see if Celtic can start waking up, because Rangers are ahead of them. Aberdeen are just behind them, as has been for most of the last decade. And both Edinburgh clubs are ahead. So that's a big cause of concern. Being beaten by Kilmarnock when you're 1-0 up and then you lose 2-1 is an embarrassing defeat for the standards that Celtic have set over the last few years. So Johnston, yeah, as I say, pretty average club with their win-loss record and draw record. It's just the same across the board. And Hamilton, I can see Hamilton being all right long term. I can see that these two having their own little battle for, mid-table supremacy, if you will. Motherwell, I am surprised with how low they are. That is a cause of concern. St Mirren, yeah, surprised there as well. In a sense that they could have picked up a couple more draws. But Dundee are in serious trouble. So I think they're the only club now in professional football, in all the professional leagues, both in Scotland and in England, that hasn't got a win. So I think that's a record they want to get rid of by this weekend. And their goal difference is shocking. And the longer the season goes on without them getting a win, the bigger the gap between them and the clubs above gets. And there's already a 16-point gap between Dundee and Hearts. There's a 16-point spread already in a league of 12 teams. That's kind of big, and that puts Dundee in some serious trouble. You would expect Livingston as the promoted side to possibly struggle later on in the season. If Dundee are already giving them an 11-point head start, that is an upward struggle for Dundee. They have to start getting a couple of wins. They get a couple of wins, they're up here somewhere if teams above them lose. That's the thing. They've got to focus on possibly beating St Mirren, Motherwell, Hamilton, St Johnstone, and try and nick points off some of these teams here in the occasional draw, because if they don't start getting points, they are in trouble. So if you're a Dundee fan, be concerned. St Mirren, for some reason, they never seem to get out of the bottom half of the table. They're always relegation fodder in the sense they're always in a battle. But hey, they've got to win and they've got to draw, so they know, they can do it. It's just doing it consistently. Motherwell, big surprise for the club that size down there. Hamilton, they flirt with the relegation zone in Scottish football. St Johnstone are a decent mid-table side. I can see them, being that mid-table side that can't quite catch the European places but doesn't get relegated. Aberdeen and Celtic, I know it's early and there's a very tight squeeze between 7th and 2nd. But if that continues and them having indifferent form, these guys can extend that lead. And Rangers and Hibs also, and even Livingston and Kilmarnock can also, get a little run going. It makes it more difficult when you're giving your rivals that much of a head start. We will look at the SPL standings, the Scottish Premier League standings, on the 31st of December when the transfer window opens. This is the opening couple of weeks of the season. We've got the first month and a half out of the way. We've had the international break. So it's a good time to look. And I'm very surprised Dundee have still got no points. Until I started researching for this video, which I started doing the other day, I was very surprised with Dundee. What really got me wanting to research this and do it was Kilmarnock beating Celtic. That is what really went, okay, I'm going to do a full video on the full SPL standings. So, I will also do videos on all the individual clubs and their club histories. I think I've done Rangers. I will do the Lisbon Lions of Celtic, that particular team. I will do Aberdeen as well. That's been requested. I could do the whole lot, and that will take time. And that's going to be more likely on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on other events going on. It'll take a bit more research, and the board will look very, very full. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We will revisit this in December at the opening of the transfer window to see what clubs are doing and where they are. It's a nice, easy league to look at because it's only 12 teams. The Premier League is more difficult because there's 20, the English Premier League, that is. But I've already had to look at the standings as they were to do some predictions. And again, I can revisit that again on the 31st of December or New Year's Eve before the transfer window opens, just to see where clubs are and what I expect to happen with teams aiming for the title or avoiding relegation. Thank you very much for watching. If you're a fan of any of the Scottish Premiership clubs, please place your thoughts below. I know I've got a few subscribers who are. And anyone else who stumbled across this video, please feel free to comment on where your club is at. I know there is a big congestion of points between actually St Johnstone in 8th and Rangers in 2nd. It's very, very tight and very, very congested. There's a handful of points covering the teams. But Hearts have got a nice, decent head start because other teams have, stuttered at times. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.